back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I am so pleased to have you here tonight. We're going to really break it. I'm going to go along with the whole idea. I will probably not have guests next week at all. I'm going to focus on what this is really all about in 2020. Now, I told you all that I really want you at this point of the show, take a few minutes, send your kids into a different room. If you would, take some pause if you are of tender heart and mind. This might not be the next 3 minutes that you want to see. Go ahead, go to your restroom break and everything. Extend yourself accordingly. But for those of you who want to see where we have gone as a nation, how we have degraded our moral order, denigrated our social constructs, and have allowed the asylum seekers to rule over the asylum keepers. This, my friends, is for you. This is America today.
This is fucking disgusting. Like, that's not even real right now. Oh.
Now, I will play that for you one more time because a lot of y'all said, wait, is that what I think he's doing? Well, yeah, it is.
This is fucking disgusting. Like, that's not even real right now. Oh.
And I want you to notice the reaction of Americans. It has become social commonplace in leftist America. The derivative of their public policies, of their constitutional efforts, their sincere desire to take away our natural rights and to disaffirm any allegiance to the sovereign God, our Creator. We have become so intolerant of moral order that a man sitting on top of a waste can in a subway station can relieve of his body excrement, and no one will do anything about it. People ask this question. You all are making, do you not believe, too much of the things that are happening in San Francisco. And I say to you, we are not. That is America today. That is where you're walking. Can you imagine yourself? And it's not just San Francisco, people. This is what liberal America has created in the major urban complexes of this great nation. A nation that was once a shining light on a hill has been dimmed by the excrement of leftist beliefs. And I know coming up on Labor Day, everyone's celebrating Labor Day. Socialism, Labor Day. But do you not understand? There are people using heroin and dying in our parks, on benches, while you lunch. There are individuals who have literally, as criminals, aligned themselves with the Democrat Party. The Democrat Socialist Party has aligned itself with the criminal element, and they are protecting and lobbying each other for support while children die on the streets. 10-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 7-year-olds. Do you not know that in New York City, there are more black babies aborted annually than there are those who are reproduced to life? That is Baltimore, ladies and gentlemen, in which the deputy police commissioner was robbed at gunpoint, where Elijah Cummings' wife has to go. He's a representative of the U.S. Congress, one of the most powerful people in America. His wife has to go on the air and beg the city and its community for help. In the nation's capital, as quiet as it's kept, there have been over 100 homicides, and the summer is only 2/3 of the way over. Unemployment extremely high. How did we get to this point? Because black people did not always subscribe to the immoral and the disorder of the Socialist Democrat Party. We're going to talk about that tonight so we can put this into the context. And I want those who are watching us, especially in urban America, in Washington, D.C., a quarter of you all, my population, is watching this show. It's time for you to be woke, not awakened by the shiesty, sinister advocates of the left, but to be woke to what your ancestors believed, that individual responsibility, conservatism, capitalism, constitutionalism or rule of law, and certainly God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit are unanimously the principles of not only creating wealth, but maintaining our natural rights and freedom and liberty. Where are we today?
America should vote Republican for at least one election. Stephen A. Smith is joining me now. Stephen, who are you trying to send a message to? Republicans, Democrats, African Americans, all of the above?
I'd go with all of the above. That sounds about right, but specifically the Democratic Party from the standpoint that I definitely believe that the black vote has been taken for granted. And primarily the black community is at fault in my estimation in that regard, simply because on one hand, we're giving one party our vote because they've successfully gone about the business of convincing our community that the other party, the Republican Party, is completely against the interest of the black community. And as a result, we've been very transparent in our support. We've boarded hook, line, and sinker. We look at the Republican Party. I'm not talking about every single one of us, of course, but vast majority of black Americans look at the Republican Party as the enemy. We look at the Democratic Party, even tacitly, as our support base. And as a result, we are very transparent in our support for them. So because of it, they have a license to take us for granted. The Republican Party has a license to summarily dismiss us because they believe they'll never get our vote anyway. And then we end up finding ourselves devoid of any kind of representation whatsoever because nobody is really competing to garner our vote and our support. So I said what I said because I wanted folks in my community to stand up and recognize that if you go to a house or you go buy a car or whatever the case may be, you don't just see something you want and say, I want that. Tell me what the price is and I'll pay for it. Somebody has to flatter you in order to garner your dollars and your support. I think the same should apply to politicians who represent us.
Let me put this in the context of 2016, because I think given the monolithic nature of the African American vote, a lot of Republicans don't even make the ask. Rand Paul is making the ask. Is there anything that he can say that you think can change this equation?
Well, first of all, he can highlight some of the inconsistencies and discrepancies the opposing party might be throwing in our direction, things that we may not know. That's number one. Number two, one of the things that you need to do as a Republican, particularly if you're running for the presidency, you have to surround yourself with a bunch of folks that look like us and not just you, that look like Hispanics and not just you.
Not just you. I want you to understand that a poor Appalachian white guy has the same issues as a poor San Antonio Hispanic. as a poor Chicago black person, as a poor Reno, Nevada Asian. The major and most significant problem in that situation has nothing to do with their race. It has everything to do with the opportunity to succeed, to gain capital, to work, to take care of family. There are some things that this particular president has done to make certain that we were moving in that direction. But the shiesty, sinister, and paid for advocates of Black Lives Matter, NAACP, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, those paid for individuals, Planned Parenthood, those paid for individuals, Congressional Black Caucus, those paid for individuals receive their wealth. They live in large homes and they have big cars and they travel the world off of your hopelessness, off of your brokenness, off of your aspirations to excel beyond the constructs of the poverty in which you are seated. We spoke earlier about the fact that the secularists have already turned the Democrat Socialist Party into a anti-God party. And let me read to you what they wrote. In fact, let me refer back to the article, Democrats Pass Resolution Applauding Non-Religious Americans Criticizing Churchgoers. The resolution criticizes religious Americans by saying those most loudly claiming that morals, values, and patriotism must be defined by their particular religious views have used those religious views with misplaced claims of religious liberty to justify public policy that has threatened the civil rights and liberties of many Americans, including but not limited to the LGBT, QRST, UVW, XYZ, P community. And yes, I said it, P is for pedophilia. Women and ethnic and religious, non-religious minorities. The Freedom from Religious Foundation said it is optimistic that the DNC resolution is a sign of bigger and better things to come for free thinkers. No, it is a bigger and better thing to come from tyrants and oppressors. You see, if I don't have the whip of God against me, I shall have the whip of God, G-O-D, little G-O-D, upon the people. And I shall be a God unto them, and they shall be my people. And I shall crush them with my anti-God worldview. Ladies and gentlemen, we have not always been down this particular road. But there are some things I want you to note that African Americans do see. This is why silently a revolution is beginning to take place.
That Trump had more than double the support from African American voters than Mitt Romney did in 2012. Not a ton, but double. How did he pull that off? Here now is one of those voters, Justin McClenton, who wrote a really interesting and nice piece on that recently, I think in The Federalist. Justin, it's great to see you tonight. Why did you vote for Donald Trump?
So the main reason I decided to vote for Donald Trump was really mostly based on policy. You know, I kind of zoned out the media. I kind of quickly realized that, hey, we're in an echo chamber. People are saying some pretty ridiculous stuff. So I said, where are the tomes? Where can I really get the information about each candidate's policy? So I went to the websites. And I liked the things that I read on Donald Trump's website a bit better than on Hillary's.
So what did you like? I mean, what jumped out at you?
So what jumped out at me in particular was Trump's policies on education, and particularly being in favor of school choice. So, the first thing that, comes up under that particular part of the site is him talking about how he's going to, support the school choice effort. I worked in a charter school myself on the south side of Chicago, and while I didn't agree with everything they were doing, I really thought they were doing some other good things for the students. So, that was really my biggest thing, that charter school support, and I think Betsy DeVos is going to be a pretty good education secretary, and I'm hoping they continue to go along those lines.
What's so interesting is if you look, just to get onto the school choice question for a second, if you look at support among African Americans for school choice, it's overwhelming. I mean, it's over 75% in the last poll that I saw. And yet the NAACP, which purports to speak for all African Americans, recently came out against it. There seems to be a massive disconnect between African American voters and their purported leaders on that question. Why?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that you see that kind of disconnect between the organizations, and I don't know what kind of goes on at the head. I mean, there was actually a prominent Black Lives Matter leader in St. Paul, Minnesota, I want to say, who prior to joining the organization, he was actually, he worked in education, and he had noticed that in his community in particular, that the charter schools had, they had been doing some really good things for the youth, and, for that, he had to kind of distance himself from the organization, and it's unfortunate, but, those organizations don't always represent everyone's opinion, and,
So agree or not on school choice or any of the other slate of issues, you're looking at this in terms of what Trump is saying he will do rather than through the lens of identity politics. And that makes you very different from most voters your age, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's about American issues and the issues that I believe in particular. And I try to vote with my head, and I'm, just try to be informed about things. And like I said, I like the policies that I saw on the website.
So you had this really interesting, I'm not exactly sure what this means, but you had this really interesting line in your piece that jumped out at me. You said you went to a majority black high school and a majority black college, and then you wound up at a college that was majority white, and you said that was the really politically intense and troubling experience to you. And you said, quote, "A great benefit of racial homogeneity is allowing for students to pursue educational goals unimpeded by identity politics." What does that mean exactly? While I was at Morehouse, the really intelligent young women at Spelman would often, kind of challenge me on certain positions just when we were having debates on campus. But, you could have a debate without feeling, pressured not to hide your true opinions. And, and at the schools, it was really just a big focus on, hey, getting your work done and making sure you're learning and getting everything you're supposed to get from a college environment. Well, I feel like, at the graduate school I attend, which is a pretty large university in California, there's just a lot of fear, and people, they can't. It feels like they can't have those conversations that I thought were so influential and crucial to my college experience. And it kind of saddens me a little bit that they had some Trump chalkings, and that's kind of seen as a bit of an attack. And it's like it's something. For me, I kind of see it like, hey, if people have open conversations about why they might, be interested in voting for Trump or why they like some of his policies, then maybe we wouldn't have this kind of back and forth where it feels like it's, people attacking each other and causing all this discomfort. So if you're a member of the group, you're assumed to be supporting a specific party line, and if you don't, you're attacked. We've seen this before. Justin, thanks a lot for joining us. That was really interesting. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Here we go, America. You've already been losing with the Socialist Democrats, who have jumped on the China bandwagon to tell Donald Trump to stop doing what he's doing to China regarding business and trade. They've jumped on the bandwagon of Venezuela to say not less socialism, not less Marxism, not less communism, but more. Oppress them. Tyrants. Oppress. The same individuals who have encouraged people around the world, even thousands of Africans, to come to the border of Mexico only to be stopped from entering the U.S. illegally. Because the black vote really doesn't make a difference anymore, despite what they say. It's the brown vote that they seek more. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're going to explore why African American, Negro colored, black persons of color have reneged on their desire to be like their ancestors and support a party that believes in freedom and liberty for the individual for the sake of a dollar bill, the hope and promise of a job, a good government job, and eternal damnation in American cities. You're watching the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. I'm Ken McClenton, not only the president of this network, but also the host of the Exceptional Conservative Show. We'll be right back with more of the best in urban conservative talk right after these messages.